Well, good morning. Our beloveds, though it is technically not morning anymore, but it has a particular flow to it. We are seeking your input into matters, and we wish to be really clear and direct. Where are you a conspiracy theorist versus doing your own research and coming to a reasonable conclusion? Where do you allow others and the media and the content that they create to shape the narratives that you share with others, as well as the core belief systems that you have? Where are you prone to cult-like thinking versus independent and critical thought? There is a huge split and divide between the MAGAs and the non-MAGAs across the world. And how can that be if you all have a similar spiritual belief? You believe in us and this type of content. How is it that you differ so much on what you allow in to your belief system, into your cognitive sphere, into your heart? Why do you allow others to create really crazy narratives that you adopt as truth without any evidence? Why is it that you allow others to form your opinions instead of forming them yourselves? Do your research. Google Scholar Google is a good place to start for evidence-based research. Find actual supporting documentation. When people repeatedly say, we can't share this with you, but we will do it next week and next week and next week. Think of the Epstein files. Yes, there's a list of all the perpetrators and we're going to disclose it. And then it was, oh, there's no list, telling you that your memories are flawed. Don't believe conspiracy hype. Follow evidence, follow factual information, and do your own research. Instead of bleating about the chemtrails and what it's doing, just perpetuating somebody else's narrative, just go out, look at the sky, see what comes across the sky as the quote-unquote exhaust from planes, and then just watch it for an hour or two to determine what your eyes themselves are showing you, without any narrative as to why or how or what. Just do your own research and then form your own opinions. And where you don't have enough data, say, I don't have enough data, but this is what I can describe as having seen. That is grounded, logical research that is not conspiracy-oriented, yet may still align with some of the same bases. But it's not because somebody else told you that, but because you're just exploring the world with your own five senses. If people actually did a little bit more of this and used their own eyes to envision the world around them, it would be much better and you would be less swayed to the extremes. And then there are those who claim to follow Christ in one form or another and yet say, but you are breaking a law and therefore we get to harm you this way. That is not really Christ-like. Explore what the Bible and Christ's teachings actually are and how it can align with love versus hatred. And then just figure out what you think is the appropriate way to move forward. If you believe in beating somebody to death, that should tell you something. And if you believe that people should never be held accountable for their sins, that tells you something about yourself. What are the appropriate consequences? There's research on this. What is the best parenting style? Oh, well, there's these 4 quadrants, and we have found that if a parent falls into this particular quadrant, the children end up being happier, more productive, healthier. There's actual evidence out there, people. Go Google it. And it's really not conspiracy related or oriented. It is research and fact-based. And then you can kind of look at a meta-analysis, META analysis, of whatever it is that you are interested in researching on Google Scholar. And that meta-analysis will look across the spectrum at what the research shows. You guys are so easily swayed by rhetoric when you don't do the deep dive yourselves. And it shows how manipulation, mind manipulation, programming actually works. And most of you don't even realize that you are part of the current programming to move the needle in one direction or another. So maybe just opt out and find your own truth through logic and reasoning, as well as a loving, compassionate perspective of what it is to live in a community where you offer grace to people when they make mistakes, but also hold them accountable from the perspective that every action has a consequence. And then figure out what it is that love looks like in your own heart and what it doesn't. It is not a single journey or a single destination. This is a lifelong experience and exploration. And as you go through different phases, as well as humanity going through different phases, you will draw different conclusions. The young people now are not like you were when you were young. They are wired differently. They have different points of exploration and interest. The cosmos is changing. So therefore, nothing is static and everything is ever emerging. So maybe check yourself on where you follow conspiracies that really, when you step back, logically don't make sense. And then figure out which ones do actually make sense, because there are facts, there is evidence that supports it. And then, most importantly, figure out again logically why people aren't being held accountable for their sins. It is because money, privilege, and power buys them choices, opportunities, and the get out of jail for free pass because of who they are, who they know, and what money will get you. It really is that simple. It is not your neighbor who's the problem, by the by. It's those who have the capacity and the wherewithal to direct humanity's points of interest by yelling, "Fire, fire!" over to the right, while they're using sleight of hand to the left. There's so much of that going on here. And most of you are not paying attention to what is hidden in the shadows because you're still looking at what is on fire. And that is it, our beloveds. May you find peace and love and endurance in this marathon that you all call life. And so it is. Namaste.